Hi everyone, welcome back, and today we're going to be doing kind of part two of boundaries. In the last video I touched on the importance of boundaries, the effect it has on the relationships and the different categories that they fall into. So today I want to touch on just giving you some tips of how to establish healthy boundaries. So just to recap, boundaries kind of give a sense of identity. All healthy relationships should have boundaries. I'm not saying that this is going to come naturally, it's not going to be an easy thing or an easy process, but it is definitely worth it if you learn to instill boundaries in your life. And I think the thing is, it's important to recognise that we're all different, we all have different needs, we all have different values, and there's nothing wrong with that, we all have our preferences, but regardless of what your boundaries are, hopefully the people in your life will respect them. If they're important to you, they should do. So here are some tips for establishing healthy boundaries. First one is that you have a right to your own personal boundaries. And I think the key thing to that is that you have to take responsibility for how you allow others to treat you. A lot of times I'll sometimes have clients and they will maybe complain about the dynamics in relationships or their family and friends, and we often use this quote that people will only treat you the way you allow them to. So you have to kind of take responsibility for that. And kind of touching on what I talked about in the last video, it's that when you set boundaries, it's really important to stick to them. So consistency is really key, guys. And have you ever noticed that kind of those that have weak boundaries tend to violate the boundaries of others? So an example might be, you could have someone that is quite explosive, maybe gets into arguments quite a lot, and then at the flip of a dime, they're quick to apologise. And to them, it's like, well, you should receive my apology. I kind of acted this way before, but I've apologised, get over it. That's their way of thinking. So when others don't kind of reciprocate that, it's a bit of a problem, you see? So because their boundaries are weak, they expect everyone else's to be. So yeah, that's just kind of a tip, something to remember. Another tip for establishing healthy boundaries is other people's feelings and needs are not more important than your own. Just let that sink in. Okay. So yeah, because I think when you start to put other people's feelings and needs above yours, it's exhausting mentally and physically. And that kind of segues into the next tip, which is learn to say no. I've said this before, I said it in the last video, no is an answer. I think when you stop doing that, you kind of veer into the territory of people pleasing, and effectively you lose your voice. It's frustrating, it's not beneficial to you, it's not beneficial to your own well-being. I remember there was a time when I was that person, especially as a teenager, there'd be things that I didn't want to do and I'm still doing them. And I guess in counselling we kind of talk about the false self and the true self. And I guess the false self is, okay, yes, I'll do whatever you want, I'll come along, when the true self is actually, no, I don't want to do this isn't serving me. So yeah, learn to say no. Another tip is identify actions and behaviours that you find unacceptable, and vocalise that. So you kind of got to let people know, actually you've crossed the line and this isn't serving me, it's not suiting me at all. Final tip is trust and believe in yourself. I think in a nutshell, you know yourself better than anyone else. You know what you need, you know what your preferences are, you know what your values are. I think a lot of people though are kind of fearful of when they vocalise those things, they're kind of, the rejection that might come with it, a lack of acceptance. So when I hear people say, I don't know what I want, I think you do. You know yourself better than anyone else. So, and again, problems start to arise when you ignore that inner voice, when you're not congruent with yourself, So just trust and believe in yourself. And the reality is that boundary setting won't always get a positive response. It's not going to, especially when you have those relationships and the dynamics have already been set, so people are going to obviously expect you to always behave in a certain way. But I think, as always, just stick with it. And as I said earlier, those people that are important to you will learn to respect those boundaries. It's going to take time, it's going to take some change, but just stick with it. And I just want to end with a quote that I read, which was, you can't pour from an empty cup. And I think the same compassion that you kind of give to others, you've got to keep some back for yourself as well. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys, and see you next time.